It has killed half of all humans who have ever lived. Not war, not famine, not plague, malaria. In 1967, American soldiers were dying. But not from bullets. Malaria was killing more troops. The most powerful military machine in human history, brought to its knees by a mosquito. The parasite had evolved. It was now resistant to chloroquine, the only drug that worked. The United States was losing a war to a single-celled organism. But on the other side of that war, someone was reading. The archive opens in 340 AD in the private library of a physician named Ge Hong. Welcome to the Green Archive. Ge Hong was not a famous doctor. He was a Taoist alchemist, obsessed with immortality, with turning lead into gold. But buried in his book, the Handbook of Prescriptions for Emergencies, was a single line that would take modern science 1,600 years to understand. 17 characters, one instruction. That would eventually win a Nobel Prize. In 1969, a 39-year-old chemist named Tu Youyou received a classified assignment. Project 523, China's secret mission to find a cure for malaria, to help their allies in Vietnam. Tu Youyou had no PhD, no medical degree, no training abroad. She was, by every Western standard, unqualified. But she had one thing the Western scientists did not: access to 2,000 years of Chinese medical texts. She began reading hundreds of ancient remedies, thousands of plants, and then she found Ge Hong's 17 characters. The instruction was strange. Ge Hong wrote, "Take a handful of Qinghao, soak it in 2 sheng of water, wring out the juice, drink it all." But here is what stopped Tu Youyou. Every other remedy in Chinese medicine. You boil it, you make a tea, you cook the herbs. But Ge Hong said, cold water, raw extraction, no heat. For months, Tu Youyou had been testing Qinghao, sweet wormwood, Artemisia annua, and it wasn't working. The extracts killed some parasites, but not enough, not consistently. Then she understood. She had been boiling it, and the active compound, whatever was killing the malaria, was being destroyed by heat. October 4th, 1971. Tu Youyou switched to ether extraction at low temperature. No boiling, no heat above 60 degrees Celsius, just as Ge Hong had written 1,631 years earlier. Sample number 191. 100% effective against malaria parasites. 100%. But there was a problem. No one knew if it was safe for humans. And in 1971 China, there were no clinical trials, no ethics boards, no informed consent. So Tu Youyou did what scientists rarely do anymore. She tested it on herself. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, why have I never heard of this woman? Why isn't she as famous as Marie Curie or Alexander Fleming? Stay with me. Because what happened next is where the story gets complicated. Artemisinin worked. It saved millions of lives across Africa and Southeast Asia. But for decades, the West ignored it. Why? Because it came from China. Because it came from traditional medicine. Because it couldn't be patented. You cannot patent a plant. You cannot patent a 1,600-year-old recipe. So the pharmaceutical industry had no interest. And then something strange happened. The World Health Organization began warning people not to use artemisinin alone. They said it would create resistance. They said it was dangerous without combination therapy. And maybe they were right. But the combination therapies they recommended, they were patented. They were expensive. They were controlled by pharmaceutical companies. A packet of Artemisia annua seeds costs $5. A course of patented artemisinin combination therapy, hundreds. I spoke with a herbalist who has been growing Artemisia for 40 years. She told me something that stayed with me. The plant doesn't care about patents. It doesn't care about clinical trials. It just grows. and it heals, like it has for thousands of years. The problem isn't the plant. The problem is that healing became a business. She's right, of course, but she's also oversimplifying, because the truth is more complicated than big pharma bad, plants good. Artemisinin resistance is real. It's spreading. If people use the plant incorrectly, wrong dosage, wrong timing, incomplete treatment, the parasite adapts, and then we lose our best weapon. This has already happened on the Thai-Cambodian border. The parasite is evolving faster than we can develop new drugs. So the WHO isn't entirely wrong to be cautious. But here is what they get wrong. For millions of people in rural Africa, in Southeast Asia, in places where $100 treatment might as well be $1 million, the choice isn't between proper combination therapy and dangerous monotherapy. The choice is between Artemisia tea and nothing, between a weed that grows in their backyard and watching their children die. I want to ask you something. If you had a sick child and no money and no access to hospitals, would you care about pharmaceutical patents? Would you care about WHO guidelines? Or would you reach for the plant that has been saving lives since 340 AD? In 2015, 44 years after her discovery, Tu Youyou won the Nobel Prize in medicine. She was 84 years old, the first Chinese woman to win a Nobel in science, the first traditional medicine researcher to ever win. In her acceptance speech, she didn't talk about herself. She talked about Ge Hong, about the 1,600-year-old instruction that modern science had ignored. The discovery of Artemisinin, she said, is a gift from traditional Chinese medicine to the world. But I would add something. It's also a gift that the world almost refused to accept. Now, let me show you how to grow it yourself, because this plant wants to grow. It's practically a weed. Artemisia annua thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9. That covers most of North America, Europe, and temperate Asia. Step 1. Seeds. The seeds are tiny, almost like dust. You can buy them online for a few dollars. Don't bury them. Artemisia needs light to germinate. Just press them gently onto moist soil. Step 2. Germination. Keep the soil moist but not wet. Room temperature is fine, 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Germination takes 7 to 14 days. Be patient. Step 3. Transplanting. Once seedlings have 4 to 6 true leaves, transplant outdoors after last frost. Full sun. Well-draining soil. Space plants 2 to 3 feet apart. They get big. Step 4. Growing. This plant can reach 6 feet tall by late summer. It's fast. It's vigorous. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Don't over-fertilize. Stress actually increases artemisinin content. Step 5. Harvesting. Harvest just before flowering. That's when artemisinin levels peak. Cut the upper third of the plant. Those young leaves have the highest concentration. Dry in shade. Remember, heat destroys the active compound, just like Ge Hong knew in 340 AD. Now, I need to be clear about something. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Artemisia annua is not FDA approved for treating malaria in the United States. Using it as medicine without proper guidance could be dangerous. If you have malaria, see a doctor. Get proper treatment. But here's what I believe. You have the right to grow this plant. You have the right to know its history. You have the right to make informed decisions about your own health. Knowledge should not be patented. And a 1,600-year-old recipe should not require a prescription. If this story meant something to you, I want to ask you to do something. Not for me, for the archive. Plant something. It doesn't have to be Artemisia. It can be any medicinal plant. Any herb that humans have used for centuries. Lavender for calm, peppermint for digestion, echinacea for immunity. Because every seed you plant is an act of preservation. Every garden is a living archive. And the knowledge that saved Tu Youyou's discovery began with someone who wrote it down. So plant something. And if you want, share a photo. Tell me what you're growing. Tell me why. Because this archive, it belongs to all of us. Ji Hong died around 343 AD. He never found immortality. He never turned lead into gold. But buried in his book, between recipes for elixirs that didn't work and potions that were probably poison, was one line that would save more lives than any emperor, any army, any modern pharmaceutical co 17 characters. Take a handful of Qinghao, soak it in cold water, drink it all. Tu Youyou is 95 years old now. She still lives simply. She still credits the ancient texts. She never sought fame, never sought fortune. She just read and understood and saved millions of lives. The archive closes on a field of Artemisia annua, growing wild, growing free, waiting for the next person who will read the old texts and understand. The Green Archive, where forgotten knowledge grows again.